Coming up on today's episode of Parasport Nation, we have a special edition for you. We were at the Canadian National Blind Hockey Tournament in Toronto. We had tons of fun, got great coverage. Let's get started.
Welcome to Parasport Nation.
Hello and welcome into a special edition of Parasport Nation. We are on location at the Mattamy Athletic Centre in Toronto for the National Canadian Blind Hockey Tournament. I'm Alex Smyth. I'm joined by Jeff Ryman and Mike Ross. Gentlemen, this has been such an exciting weekend. Jeff, I'll start with you. Initial thoughts for the overall weekend.
Yeah, phenomenal. We've been doing this since, I think, 2016, so almost 10 years now. Obviously, with COVID, there was a couple of gray areas, gray years in there, but the one thing that really stood out to me was just the skill level. Everybody we've talked to talks about the skill and the growth of the sport just keeps getting better and better every year. That's the one that really sticks out to me. The gold and bronze medal games that we witnessed from the open division were really, really good. That's probably the level of play from 10 years ago at the highest level, and now we have a level even above that. And watching those select games were really, really impressive as well. And obviously there's some phenomenal players being added to the roster for Team Canada. So just the skill level alone has ascended to yet another level.
Yeah, and we're going to cover all of that on this episode. Mike, first for you, initial thoughts on the weekend as a whole.
Well, just to pick up on what Jeff was talking about, and that's just how the community of blind hockey, the grassroots levels of it have really fed the game and the sport right through to the elite division, and you get a master's division now. You're getting to a point, Jeff, where the players we were watching at the top levels of the sport 10 years ago, who were in their mid 30s, are now in their 40s and taking advantage of this new division. But it's the growth of the game at the youth level that continues to feed the system here. And that's how you grow a sport. It's not just about having the one national team. It's about those events that we had where, 10 years ago, we were experiencing it for the first time, and it was being introduced to young players for the first time, and then realizing there's a place for them to play this game. And once they have 4 or 5 years under their belts, they're that much better, and the sport benefits because of it.
Yeah, and one of those newer additions is the open category. And Mike, you were doing the play-by-play with Nico Cardarelli on AMI Audio of the bronze and gold medal matches. Gentlemen, let's start with the gold medal match. It was the Senators versus the Habs. What a dominant performance by the Senators, winning 4-1. Jeff, we'll start with you.
Yeah, the Sens did a phenomenal job. They were moving the puck really, really well. And not to discredit the Habs at all. The Habs had a lot of speed. I noticed that really early, is that they had a couple of really speedy players, which again talks to the skill and the speed that we're seeing at, the open division now. So, the Habs did very well, even though they couldn't score more than one goal. But, the Sens, they played really well. They were a cohesive group and some phenomenal goaltending as well, might I say.
Yeah, Mike, what about you? What did you feel when you were calling that game? It was a flurry of goals at one point for the Sens.
It could have gone either way about the midway point of the game. The Habs had a scoring chance, which was turned aside on a great pad save by Dave Brown. But the fact was that the Sens just really dominated play from beginning to end. And you really got the feeling as the game went on that the experience of the Sens roster and the Sens players really was the advantage for them over the Habs. That earlier on in this tournament, that the Habs may have had the youth on their side and the energy on their side, but they did not have the experience. And that meant that when it came to the game itself, the puck possession just wasn't there for the Habs. They would lose the puck easily. They would give the puck away a lot. And if you don't control the puck in this game, you're not getting the scoring opportunities you need. And so the ice eventually just felt like it was really tilted in the Habs zone, and the Senators were there to make it count every time they basically had a scoring chance.
Yeah, there were a few penalties that you kind of felt the momentum maybe shifted in the Habs' favor, but they just couldn't get past goaltender Dave Brown consistently to get back into this match. There's still plenty of coverage of the National Blind Hockey Tournament, but let's take a minute or two to hear in from Angela Bonfanti, the president of CNIB, who talked about just the growth and the excitement around this tournament and how she was excited for more women getting involved into the sport.
Angela, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. This is such an exciting weekend ahead. Can you start off by telling me a bit about what the CNIB is doing here with the gala on Friday?
Thanks, Alex. So we've had a partnership with the Canadian Blind Hockey Association for the better part of the last 10 years now, and we've been having lots of conversations around how do we get hockey to be the national sport that it is and in amongst the blindness community. And it was very niche for a very long time. I mean, I'm so emotional here today to see thousands of people in the stands. We have kids from TDSB schools all across the region that are here cheering on kids and youth and adults who are blind playing hockey. And so we're here because we're the exclusive fundraiser for Canadian Blind Hockey. We're working with donors every day to make sure that CBH has what they need to get kids on the ice, to get them in jerseys, to pay for their membership fees, to travel them across the country, and to hopefully one day make this a national sport.
What does it mean for you and CNIB to see the growth of this sport, and how does it help further the mission that CNIB has in creating more awareness, access, supports for blind Canadians?
Oh, such a good question. I mean, we always ask ourselves this question because changing society, changing the hearts and minds of people is like this impossible task. How do you measure that? How do you know you're making a difference? You can't talk to every one of the 40 million Canadians out there about their, pre-existing notions about blindness and what they think people who are blind can or can't do. So if it's events like this, when I see growth every year, it wasn't long ago where the stands were just the families of the players that could make it to Toronto. Now we've got people from across the country, outside the country. It's a great measurement, I think, for me to say the messaging is working, people are getting it. Every single one of these 2,000 kids in here today are going to leave with a very different perception of what it is to be blind than when they did walking into these doors. And that, to me, is just the best thing ever.
You mentioned your CNIB's longstanding support of the blind hockey tournament. It's got to be so exciting that every single year it's the biggest ever. It's the biggest ever. It's the biggest ever. It keeps growing,
and we're
the
not
support
fit into this arena.
Yeah, and so it's like that's got to be so satisfying to see that. Okay, there's that tangible difference. That interest is made in blind sports here.
It's great, and what we need is people will be ignited if they're here. You and I are feeling it. The feeling in the room is so palpable. It's amazing. What we need people to do now is leave and do something about it. When they see somebody who's blind on the street using a cane or a guide dog, offer help. Don't run the other way or worry that they're not going to be able to respond to you. That we want everyone here to be motivated to be part of the solution, because in Canada we have the average Canadian doesn't really know much about blindness unless you work with someone or go to school with someone who happens to have vision loss. All you have to rely on is what the movies tell you, and even then it's sighted actors playing, for the most part, blind characters. So for us it's really important to get to as many kids, especially before they start those cognitive years where you're making up your mind about society, to get as early as possible, and to do it through sport is such a great gift. So yes, bigger and bigger means more and more kids, means more and more awareness, and one day we'll need a bigger arena, and that's a good problem to have.
Absolutely. Last thing, what are you most looking forward to as this weekend of great games and events unfold?
I'm looking forward to the women's games, the women's teams. I mean, a few years ago, we just started. We were working with Matt on getting women on the ice. We were like, where are the girls? We got to get the girls into hockey. I mean, it's happening in the sighted space. Why not, in the blind hockey space? And so I just talking to Matt before I came to see you, Alex, and he was like, you got to see these girls play. Like in 3 years, they're looking phenomenal. They're making a watch out. So yes, watch out for the girls, because they're making quite the entrance here in blind hockey.
Absolutely, and hopefully soon enough, blind hockey will be at a level that we not only see it on an international level, but maybe on a Paralympic level too.
That is the goal. That is the goal. I hope so.
Angela, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Alex. Appreciate it.
I really enjoyed hearing from Angela. That excitement was in her voice, and hearing her talk about the crowds on Friday taking in those early matches of the weekend, it was truly a rowdy group in here on Friday.
It was. It was really, really loud. Those school kids did a really good job. It's so fun to see them in the stands because it's educational for them and it's fun. You're at a hockey rink and you're just watching a sport that you may or may not have ever seen before. But it was really special to me. You could feel the emotion in the crowd when Mark DeMontis received that Willie O'Ree Award. It almost sent chills down my spine a little bit, where the kids, I think, really recognized what was going on. Like, this was an NHL award. An NHL award being awarded to a blind hockey player. Really cool stuff. And they gave it their all. It was pretty deafening in here, and it was probably a really cool experience for Mark and any other player that was on the ice that moment.
Yeah, well, and don't just take our word for it. You can now hear from AMI's president and CEO, David Arrington, who also shared a similar sentiment.
Thank you so much for taking time to chat with me. Obviously, you are here representing AMI. Can you talk a bit about the partnership and the history that goes back between AMI and Canadian Blind Hockey?
It's been a long time running. We've been partners with Canadian Blind Hockey for 11 years now, since day one. I believe we were the original first corporate sponsor of blind hockey. And I'm amazed at how far it's come. I see the stands here are packed with kids. There's more than like 10 teams. The participation, it's all across the country now. It used to just kind of be Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver. They've done a phenomenal job, and we're just lucky to be part of it.
Now, you are a sports guy yourself. I'm a sports guy.
Yeah.
Blind hockey has been exploding, as you talked about.
Yeah.
How hopeful are you for the future of blind hockey in Canada? Do you think this is going to be one of those sports that maybe one day we do see in the Paralympics? It's growing like it is.
Well, I know that's their aspiration, so I encourage participation in Canada is big. I know in the States it's growing quite a lot. I think Finland and Sweden are kind of getting there. I don't know how many countries they need to make it an official Paralympic sport, but they're growing to that number, and I definitely see it as a future Paralympic sport. And it's exciting, it's fun. Participation is great, only upward.
And lastly for you, when you're taking in a game like blind hockey, like what is it that excites you, that draws you into the game?
The skill level. You'd be shocked. There's guys here that play junior. There's females that have played high-level hockey. The talent. You don't expect that, but you come out here, and I've actually played and been on the ice with them. The talent is overwhelming. There's some really good hockey players there. You'd be shocked.
David, thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, take care.
Okay.
Always great to catch up with our president and CEO, David Arrington. I did have to throw him a couple curveballs. Even though he is the man signing those paychecks, I still wanted to ask what he thought about the future and the growth potential of blind hockey, if it's going to make the Paralympics one day. He seems optimistic. I'm optimistic myself. I think just this weekend overall, it was the biggest turnout ever, the biggest crowds, the most amount of divisions. The trajectory is still pointing upwards, right, Mike?
It has been, though, for a long time. And the biggest thing that I've seen over the years and the difference between the game in Canada and the United States is the buy-in from the National Federation. Hockey Canada needs to be more involved here and needs to really witness and acknowledge the work that's happened from everyone involved with blind hockey in Canada and see that it's not just about this one tournament. Really, it is the growth of the game, and it's the leadership role that the Canadians have had in expanding that game worldwide. I mean, they really have managed to bring the game elsewhere in the world, but when it comes to national federations, the United States has been sort of that guiding light, and Team Canada can exist here within this program as much as it wants, but in order to take that next big step, they need Hockey Canada on side.
And Jeff, we talk about it all the time on PSN. You know, this is a sport that is ready to blow up. You're starting to see more and more international players coming to this tournament, marking it on their calendar. It's only a matter of time until you're getting international tournaments like this one over in Europe, and I think that's a key point. Once we get to that threshold, then we're talking Paralympics.
We're really close. We had Matt Morrow on the show a couple of times, I guess now, over the last couple of months, and him and Luca DeMontis have said they're really, really close to creating a team world. You could have a Team Canada, a Team USA, and then a Team Europe or a Team Asia, Team World, whatever that third team may be, they're getting there. And you can see it from this tournament too, where it's not just Canadians, it's not just Americans. There are people from overseas in Finland, the UK. I believe they're going to be heading over to Europe as well and doing a couple of training camps and showcases. This sport is growing not just here in North America, but worldwide as well. And I can't wait to see that maybe next year we might have a Team World to compete with Team Canada and Team USA.
Yeah, well, the competition will definitely be fierce, just like it was in the bronze medal match today between the Canucks and the Leafs. I've never witnessed anything as exciting as a shootout to decide the gold medal match, and having both teams shoot out at the same time. Mike, you were on the microphone for that. How was it calling a shootout when both teams are shooting at the same time?
Well, with Nico doing the play-by-play, I mean, I was literally just basically trying to pick one shooter to follow while Nico follows the other, trying to indicate to Nico if there was a goal or a save on one side while he's watching what's happening on the other side. And you're really at the mercy of the players, because in many instances, you may have had one skater breaking in quicker than the other skater did, and so the scoring opportunity came a little bit ahead of the other player, making it easier on Nico. But in some instances, they were basically matching each other stride for stride, and Nico's basically got his head on a swivel trying to see who scored, who saved. The thing that was amazing about it was he never blew a call. He didn't miss one single play, so that was great. But it certainly did sort of up the level of excitement of that moment. And that was a game that kind of went back and forth, really was a story of three games. It was the first half, the second half, and then the shootout in the end. It was a very exciting bronze medal game.
And Jeff, you and I were taking it in, and we were both full of excitement, and we were shocked. There was sometimes players were matching each other's moves on the same turn. So talk about a great way to end with the Canucks beating out the Leafs in a shootout.
With all due respect, that might have been the game of the tournament. I mean, whenever a medal game goes into sudden death, especially when two shooters are going at the same time, that is fun. And like you mentioned, that it seemed that every time one scored, they both scored at the same time, or there was two really good saves at the same time. We got down to 5 shooters, and finally it was decided. It was wild. And then once they were announced that was it, because it went to sudden death, right? Like, I think the first 3 rounds were back and forth a little bit, but then after that third round, it was sudden death, and eventually, the Canucks ended up winning, and it was cool to see them celebrate because everybody jumped the boards. Gloves were flying, and
MVP chants were being chanted.
MVP chants. So that was definitely the more fun game, I think, out of the 2 medal games, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, it may have been a bronze medal game, but it was a gold medal worthy performance. It really was. As far as the excitement went, it was gold medal worthy.
Yeah, and we had a chance to catch up with one of the members of the Leafs team, Amy Burke. She was able to join us for a few minutes, talk about the experience overall this weekend and what it means to shift from the goalball court to the ice. And following her interview, we catch up with Matt Morrow about how they are looking to expand the Canadian blind hockey presence across the country. We have the privilege of being joined by Amy Burke. Amy, thank you so much for taking time to chat with us after a long weekend of competition. First off, how are you feeling? You were playing in the bronze medal match. Unfortunately, your team came up short in overtime, but that was an exciting way to end the game.
Yeah, it was really cool. Legs were definitely feeling a little tired after the week, but no, this was a lot of fun. Yeah, I mean, our team just kept getting better and getting more chemistry with each other as the weekend went on, and it was a great group of guys to play with. And yeah, it was just wanted to come out and have some fun, and definitely checked off that goal.
Every person that we talk to talks about the growth of this sport and this event in particular. What have you seen the growth of the most since the inception, or at least when you started coming to the national tournament like this?
Yeah, so you know what? I mean, I can say for sure as a kid, I never ever heard of blind hockey. And now being a bit older, it's it's incredible. I have 2 young boys that have been a part of the Ottawa 67's youth and children's program since it started. And I think they're into their 5th year now, 5th season. And so this is our 2nd or 3rd year here in Toronto. But it just keeps getting bigger and bigger every year. And everyone keeps getting better, and that's awesome. Like, first, not being able to have access to this when I was growing up, it's Canada's game. Everyone plays hockey, and so not being able to with a visual impairment, it was kind of hard, but then it's, you find other sports. But again, it's still kind of lingering in the back of your mind. But to have my kids be able to grow up and being able to actually play hockey and to keep getting better, like, we couldn't believe how good the boys looked this weekend just compared to last year. And it's in all divisions. Like, everyone is getting better, and it's incredible to see how big this tournament has got in the last 11 years.
So I'm a little biased as a former PA announcer for the 67s, so I will say, let's go 67s. There's very few things they don't do right. The thing with this tournament that's always impressed me, we hear about the World Junior Team. We talk about the Four Nations tournament that just happened with the NHL players and how these players are brought together and need to gel as a team really quickly. And in many instances, it's over a week or 2 weeks. You guys do it in the span of just a couple of days. What's that like?
Yeah, it's you just kind of juggle up some lines, and everyone just loves to play. So you just figure out a way to make it work. And I think that was just what was really cool to see. Like, I have very little hockey experience. This was my first time playing an actual, like, full game, full tournament, and it was neat to see. Like, I was on a line with a guy named Lucas on our team, and we were just starting to be able to learn what the other one does very quickly. And I think it's just, you bring everybody together and everyone just loves the sport. And, we were playing for the teammate to the left and to the right of us. It turned into like a good little knit group by today. And it was really cool to actually be a part of and to just see how much everyone loves hockey.
And Amy, last question for you. You made your name on the goalball court, being a representative for Canada for a long time. How does it feel to kind of change things up, try swap out a goalball court for a hockey rink?
It is very hard. I'm not going to lie. I like to be the best in everything that I do, and I knew coming here it was going to be completely different than, captaining the team in Paris. But it was just, I wanted to learn. I wanted to experience something different, and I wanted to take on the challenge. It's been so much fun. I think by today, I was getting a bit better with my skating and passing and everything, but I'm still definitely one of the lower people in the open division, but I'm super proud with just how everything went. I had tons of fun. It was a huge learning experience, and I'm already looking forward to next season.
Well, Amy, thank you so much for your time. We enjoyed watching you and watching that bronze medal match. Hopefully next year, you and your team are grabbing that medal that time around. So thank you. And we will now check out a bit of a clip we re-recorded previously. Have a listen.
Matt, thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're incredibly busy this week, and it's a culmination of a lot of hard work for you and your team now that the weekend's here. What are you most excited about?
Honestly, I'm most excited just to see everybody having so much fun. I mean, whether you're, a children's division having your very first tournament, or you're a seasoned vet and you're trying to make the Canadian National Blind Hockey Team, everyone is going to have a blast this weekend.
So one of the unique things that we have here today is you have a shooting station behind us where people can kind of try and experience what playing blind hockey is like. Describe it a bit for us.
Sure. So what it is we have some simulator goggles that simulate different vision impairments. So there's one that has no central vision, there's one that has no peripheral vision, and we've got some targets set up which are audible, so you can hear if you've hit it or not if you can't see it. And it's for individuals that are fully sighted to try and see what it would be like to try to shoot at a target with a vision impairment.
You mentioned in your speech at the CNIB Gala the fact that the sport has grown across the country with all these different teams that have really popped up even within the last year. What does the next 12 months look like for Canada Blind Hockey? Are there going to be more teams that kind of start popping up across the country? Is there an area that you really want to hope to kind of get a presence?
So I think the next one for sure is Victoria. We've got a core group of players in Victoria, BC that want to get a team going, and we have other players that live in various parts of the island. So I think a second program in the province of BC is a definite. That's happening for sure. Regina was supposed to start this year, and we had trouble with ice time. So apparently the city of Regina is completely booked and needs to build some new facilities. So we're going to be on that for next year because we do have a core group of athletes there as well. And I'm sure there's other places as well that would really love to have a blind hockey team.
Well, there's a goal going on. There's a ton of action on the ice. Lastly, what does it mean to see crowds like this, packed stands, taking in blind hockey?
Yeah, I think for the athletes, for sure, with all the training that they do, that actually having people come out to cheer them on just makes it such a better experience. And as Angela Bonfanti, the CEO of CNIB, said, this is going to change every kid's perception of the abilities of a person that's blind or visually impaired. So a huge thing about blind hockey is just changing perceptions and attitudes towards disability and vision impairment, and an event like today is certainly going to do a lot towards that.
Matt, thank you so much for your time. I know you're incredibly busy. Best of luck this weekend.
Thank you for having me.
We're thrilled to be joined by Chaz Mizoraka. Chaz, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today. Obviously, it's been a whirlwind of a weekend for yourself, playing in the select division, and also, as news is breaking with us, being named part of the Canadian National Blind Hockey Team. Congratulations on that. And what does it mean to, once again, be a part of that team, be a part of that movement, and wearing that maple leaf on your chest?
It's absolutely amazing. Ever since I lost my sight, I dreamed of making that team. It took me 3 or 4 years to finally get invited out to a select series, and this is the 3rd year in a row I've made the team. So it was a big weekend for us. The talent's been going up every year. It's crazy how fast the games are getting and how good all the players are becoming. It won't be long before I won't be making the team anymore because the young kids are they're nipping at our heels.
Chaz, I want to take things off the ice for a little bit because I noticed throughout the entire weekend that there was a bunch of different events going on. I think you were doing cross training at a climbing place, I believe, on Friday. There was also a health and wellness summit, I believe, taking place in the room right behind us. Can you walk us through that and what those types of events mean away from the ice?
Yeah, Thursday we went to the MLSE launch pad. It was like 42 kids came, and we ran them through a bunch of different sports. Me being a rock climber, I rock climbed with them throughout the whole day, and the kids love it. A lot of kids, we try to get them involved in sports in any which way we can, even though the organization is Canadian Blind Hockey. We just know that, there's so much great things that come from youth playing sports. So we introduced them to 6 other sports. I mainly just do rock climbing. Kids love it. They have a blast. I have a really fun time climbing with them. We had the health and wellness here, doing some breath work and yoga, somatic stuff with a friend of mine actually from Stratford, Ontario, who came in. And all the players reacted really well to it. I was kind of curious how they were going to take doing that, getting into your body, spirit, mind, breath. I think it's new to a lot of the guys, and they all reacted really well to it.
For people who are familiar with this weekend, you go through the motions of the weekend, and it's a lot of the same thing every year. But when we're talking national team, talk about your experience with the national team. What does the next year have in store for you and for the team?
A lot of training. We're going to get together in the next couple of weeks, and then get together again in Montreal, and then in April 20th, we're getting together in Montreal again. We come from, last year the team was made up of 10 different provinces. I haven't actually heard who all made the team this year, so I'm not even aware of who's actually on Team Canada for this next coming season. But we come from the East Coast, West Coast, Center. It's hard for us all to get together, so they're going to take advantage of that while we're all in the same place at the same time. And I guess I'll wait and see. After I'm done with you guys, I got to get back into the conference room, and hopefully I don't miss the actual official announcements. And we'll just play together and keep playing hard and keep trying to grow the sport as best we can. There's chat about going to Finland, I heard, in October, and running some stuff there. So we'll see what happens.
Chaz, we won't keep you any longer. Thanks so much for stopping by, and best of luck in the upcoming tournaments ahead for you. That is our interview with Chaz Mizoraka. And now let's take in a bit of a word from Luca DeMontis. We caught up with him earlier.
You were just at center ice. Your brother, Mark DeMontis, was just awarded the Willie O'Ree Award. You were excited, to say the least, for him. Take me through some of the emotions of seeing your brother get that award.
I think you hit the nail on the head there, emotions. So I'll try to keep my emotions intact during this interview. But, you know, it's been an emotional day for my family. It's been an emotional day for the community, right? So Dad's watching. We know that. Mark lifted that trophy to the sky to share it with him. But it's a huge cause here. And you know what? If it wasn't for this community, the Willie O'Ree Trophy wouldn't be in the building today. So a huge thank you to every single person that not only voted, but has been along as part of this journey with my family and with our community.
For yourself, this is beyond just being a part of this massive event. There's a lot of work on your shoulders. As the GM of the national team, you're announcing the roster for the national team at the end of this tournament. What was the decision making that had to go into formulating the best team based on the players on the ice?
You know what, I've done a lot of thinking about this, and you know, recently, as we talked about with the Four Nations, John Cooper is an incredible speaker, and I've watched all his media availability, and there's one thing I took from it, and it's very similar to us, is we want to select great Canadians. We want to select champions in our community, and I think that says a huge testament to our community, right? So there's no easy decisions, but I'm okay with making those decisions along with my coaching staff, and I think when Sunday comes around and we'll announce the next national blind hockey team to represent Canada in Montreal in April against the U.S., you'll see amazing hockey players, but you'll see better people, and I think that's what speaks volume to us.
One thing I want to touch on with you is the fact that not only is there a ton of great athletes participating this weekend, there's also a huge swath of coaches. And it's not just one or two coaches. You got pretty much a full roster of coaches who are coaching their own teams. There's not a lot of overlap between the coaches.
If it wasn't for our coaches, this is not possible, right? They are some of the most dedicated volunteers we have that are part of our community, right? So yeah, we've got coaches from across Canada, we've got coaches from Finland, we've got coaches from different programs in the United States, and it's really proving that this sport is here, right? And it's for the world to take it in, right? So without our coaches, we wouldn't be who we are today. The amazing support that they provide on and off the ice, and I think it's so important that they get the recognition they deserve, because you know what? The other people who deserve a little bit of recognition are the refs, right? They got to make sure that the game goes smooth. And right now, everybody loves the refs, but there'll be a couple times of it throughout the weekend when the chirps will go flying. And I love that too, because it proves this is hockey, right? So despite the visual impairment, they're playing the game they love out there.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a hockey tournament without a little dissension on the refs.
Correct.
You're very busy. Before I let you go, I just want you to describe to me, what does it mean when you look out on the ice and the stands? The stands are packed with people. What does it mean that they're all here to witness blind hockey?
Well, the first thing I want to say is this is an official record for blind hockey. So this is the most fans that have ever been in attendance for a live blind hockey game. So that's huge for us. And we set that goal out like the following week after last year's tournament. We said we got to beat next year's record. We need to create an environment that these players are going to thrive in, right? So it's super cool. It's super important to have these fans here. But as you touched on, the next wave of skill and talent, not only in Canada, but around the world, is what I'm truly excited for, right? The future is very bright in this sport, and I'm so excited to see right now. We've got some of the top children players on the ice demonstrating a game between an intermission. We're making it as professional for these children and youth as possible. So I like to say our future is bright, not only in this country, but around the world in this amazing sport of blind hockey.
Luca, thank you.
No, thank you guys so much from our organization just for helping us amplify our voice and continue to creating awareness.
And that was our interview with Luca DeMontis. Talk about a tough job trying to distinguish who's making that national team, who's not quite making the cut. But overall, I just loved having that interview with him, just, you know, sharing that emotion of being there while his brother won that Willie O'Ree Award.
That was so cool. And we had a great vantage point from being up here, way up at a bird's eye view, I guess you could say. And Luca was standing just off the ice, but behind Mark, with the biggest smile on his face. And it was just such a special moment for that DeMontis family. Like I said, the kids were going wild here in the crowd, but you could tell the family was just as happy and just as supportive and positive because, again, that's a really, really big award.
Yeah, and Mike, for you, obviously, every year at this tournament, it's the announcement of that national team. It's an exciting time for players. It's a bit of a stressful time. So, sometimes you're on that bubble. Sometimes you can make the team. Sometimes you can't. But now we know the official list of who is on the national team for Canada.
Yeah, and it's getting tougher and tougher year in and year out. Talking to the players who, knew that they were in contention for this, and they'll tell you that this wasn't a guarantee. This was not, predetermined in their mind, that they were all sort of waiting for the news here. So Anthony Chula, Conrad Eder, Dante Gimaroli, Tristan Lindbergh, Chaz Mizuraka, Liam O'Callaghan, Thomas Raymond, Kelly Serbu, Jonathan Turzop, Jason Yuha, Nick Bullock, Mark DeMontis, Joe Fornese, Bruno Hache, Brandon Joy, Amanda Proven, Simone Richard, Joey Cabral, Oliver Pye, and Lauren Weber. So a lot of names that we're familiar with from years gone by, but some new names in there as well. And that just speaks to how this game has grown over the last few years and how they've been able to feed young players in through the system, develop them to get to this point where they're making a national team.
Yeah, Jeff, your reaction to that roster?
That's a really talented roster. You ask anybody, Matt, Luca, anybody who has any involvement with Canadian blind hockey, they said this is the hardest decision yet, right? I mean, we've seen the growth of this game, 190 players alone at this event, which makes it the biggest one ever. And the cool thing is, and Mike, I know you alluded to this earlier in the show, is that grassroots level is still growing at a rapid pace. There's been a ton of different organizations popping up year over year. I think there was 4 or 5 that came to fruition last year. I know they're going to announce one, I believe, next week in BC for another grassroots level club. It's just getting better and better, and it makes this roster that much harder for Luca and company to make. But again, some really familiar names, Kelly Serbu, Jason Yuha, those are the, two of the best players in the entire world, pretty much locks for the roster, but a very skilled and talented roster nonetheless.
Yeah, and I know in talking to Luca, the decision wasn't final until they were watching the games today. Like this, as you have both said, this was not something set in stone for a while. They were watching the players, how they were doing this tournament, how they were performing. That went into their decision, and I think they came to a pretty great decision. But guys, as the stadium starts to wind up and wind down behind us, the weekend has come to an end. Final thoughts from both of you as we close out another Canadian National Blind Hockey Tournament. Mike, I'll start with you.
Well, I think the biggest takeaway for me about where the game is at right now after a weekend like this is talking about how they're actually getting the word out there and getting kids involved in the game. And the biggest thing is we can talk about, getting Hockey Canada involved and how important they are, but more important than anything has been the involvement of junior hockey across this country, right? What's the most accessible level of entertainment-based hockey out there? It's junior hockey. The junior hockey rinks across this country are filled with families, with kids. It's most of all affordable, so the whole family gets to go, and it's a marketing opportunity for blind hockey to put on demonstrations, but also to develop the partnerships with these junior hockey teams. And that's the biggest step forward that I've seen in the development of this game, is getting junior hockey teams, because they are such a big part of their communities and they have so many kids involved that when you guys are here on a Friday and you see this place packed on a school day event, that's why. It's that relationship that they've managed to put together with junior hockey teams across the country. Great first step. And, now you want to see that grow. You want to see National Hockey League teams become partners. You want to see the National Federation. But, hats off to Canadian Hockey League teams that have jumped on board.
Yeah. Jeff, final thoughts for you?
It's fun to watch. It's fun to watch those junior hockey players because they've most of them haven't been exposed to blind hockey. So when they're trying to do some puck tricks with a blind hockey puck, it's the genuineness that you see of the reaction is so fun. But for me, the vibe of this entire weekend, I just love it. The camaraderie between the players, between the organizers, whoever it is, everybody greets you with a smile on their face. Yeah. And like I mentioned in that interview with Chaz, is that there's so much that goes on outside of playing hockey at a tournament like this. They have so many different events. Chaz talked about getting the youth involved in rock climbing. The team was very receptive at doing the health and wellness, which could go either way. You know, some people may not, yoga or whatever may not be for them, but more power to them. They all, you know, were on board with that. And there's just different events. And I saw they had a couple of keynote speeches throughout the weekend. They had a couple of special guests. It just seemed like the whole weekend, not just on the ice, but off the ice, was so special.
Yeah, this has truly become such a staple part of the Parasport calendar here in Canada. We're talking hockey, such a national identifiable sport in Canada. But the key that never gets lost in this tournament is that joy, is that fun, is that engagement, that, yes, this is a competitive competition. There are stakes here, but there is still an opportunity for everyone to get involved, everyone to play hockey. And this is why I love coming to this tournament each and every year. But that's all the time we have here as we begin to close out our time and our coverage here at the Mattamy Athletic Centre in the Canadian National Blind Hockey Tournament. I'm Alex Smyth, Jeff Ryman, Mike Ross. Thank you for watching and listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to Parasport Nation. Like and subscribe to the channel to follow us now.